High demand does not automatically mean you are ready to scale. And if you're booked out, but you still feel capped, this episode is going to explain exactly why. Hey everybody, welcome back. And we're talking about a big frustration today. I see you and you're booked. You don't have a problem with your pipeline. Your inquiries are steady. Your revenue is even solid, and maybe you've even hired help. That's a great place to be in. After all, back when you started your business, isn't this where you wanted to be and what you were hoping for? But here's the dirty little secret. You can't take on more without breaking something. And you are still the bottleneck in your business. And that growth that you craved and you longed for is feeling heavier, not easier. That's frustrating. I see it and I feel it and I hear it from you as well. I want to be abundantly clear on this episode. This is not a demand problem. It's actually a design problem, a design of your business problem. I love that you are not in the big groups online of designers who are struggling to find clients. That isn't your issue. In fact, I hear from you and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got X number of projects booked out 6-9 months. I'm having to tell people to wait or that I won't be able to service them. But in the same breath that you're saying that, I see you're tired. I see your fatigue in your eyes and you're going, this is everything I ever wanted. I have all the clients. I have the pipeline and I'm utterly exhausted. See, by the time you get to being a high 5-figure, 6-figure designer, you start to not struggle with demand anymore. It's great, but there's new struggles that come at every stage. Maybe you're struggling to build a business that can absorb all that demand. I often think of it like kids, you know? Mine are getting to the point where they're at different life stages and are they different than when they were 1 and 3? Each stage has its own challenges, its own growth patterns, and its own needs. And when we learn to adapt and move into this space of this new chapter, then we have the headspace to adequately address the current problems we are facing. So a lot of times, I think designers misdiagnose the problem, and it has to do with how we think. Some of these assumptions are, I just need more team. It's always fascinating to me because I have designers who come to me and say, I just need more help. Absolutely need more help. And the first thing we do is go straight to their financials to see whether or not they can afford more help. And if not, why? But it can be a default strategy to say, I've got a pipeline, therefore I need more help. Maybe you just need better processes. Maybe you need templates of like how you actually run a project that automatically assign to the people on your team that you have and give them due dates automatically. Imagine all that working in the background for you. Then maybe you don't need more team. You just need to optimize the tools you already have at your disposal or get better tools, right? Another assumption that I hear that I think it's easy to default to is, oh, I need to raise my rates again. Yes and no. I'm not going to lie. Some of you do need to raise your rates, and we talk about it a lot because you're nice and you're kind and you're a people pleaser and you don't want to raise your rates. But as I told one of my coaching clients last week, please share with me the last thing that has gone down in price for you. It hasn't been milk, hasn't been bread, hasn't been your mortgage, hasn't been buying a car, hasn't been your kids' education. Nothing has gone down in price or even remained stagnant. And once I said that, she immediately understood, yeah, I can't remain stagnant either. Because the moment you remain stagnant, you start discounting you and your services. But I want to be clear on this point. We're talking about defaulting or the misdiagnosis of saying, I just need to raise my rates again. That feels good in the moment. A lot of coaches will tell you that's the key. But just as we talked about last week, your business at this stage is complicated, it's complex, it's unique, and one simple change in one area will result in changes in other areas because of the sophistication and elevation you have built into your business. So don't default to the easiest variable like, I need to raise my rates again. Maybe another misdiagnosis you have is, I need better clients. I mean, my gosh, I've got a line out the door. Maybe I need to get better people on my roster. Yeah, that feels easy and simple, but is that real? Do you need better clients, or do you have great clients and you need better processes to support them? Also, I think we often can tell ourselves, this is just what growth feels like. It should feel chaotic and kind of nutty and have me a little stressed out and really thankful that it's Friday when we get there. Yes, I know that's easy to see and is super funny on an Instagram feed, but what isn't funny is the feeling of living with it. Growth shouldn't feel that way. Growth should feel controlled. It should feel intentional. And if it doesn't, there's a chance to start really thinking about the business as a whole. Because more demand on top of a fragile structure with some of the variables I just mentioned puts more pressure on you. And I would venture to say that of all of the interior designers I speak to, not a one of you, myself included, wants more pressure. In fact, we need better structures to be able to support the pressure. It's no different than building a home. We have to have an incredible structure to be able to support everything that goes on inside of it, right? Your business is no different. We need better structures to reduce the pressure, and then you're in a position to increase the load and be able to scale. Scaling doesn't just happen because you have more people on your roster, nor should it, because you could potentially jeopardize your brand by not having the appropriate steps and mechanisms and processes in place to be able to support that type of pipeline. All right, let's talk about the real reason when we dig deep on why you may not be ready to scale. And that is the business is built around the founder. Every decision is going through you. Clients expect to reach you at all hours, all the time, and always get you. And maybe your team executes, but they don't really own the outcomes of that execution. That's not fair to you or to them. It can be easy to get stuck at this level. The problem is just that, you're stuck. Because when everything hinges around you and what you're putting together, you're going to reach a threshold and you're not going to be able to get past it. Yes, demand increases complexity in your business. I'm not going to lie at all. It's going to require a different set of systems, a different set of potentially people or more of them. But don't default to that like we just talked about. Think about your business as an organic, living, breathing structure. It's complicated. And if you're at the center of every single function, your capacity is just going to hit a ceiling. There's no two bits about it. Now, I want to be clear as a fellow creative, because you do still want to have control over the design. It still needs to speak to your brand. That is what got you here. There's a very delicate balance here, which is why when you get to this stage of business, it's complicated. This is why I love coaching to it. You want to make sure that the thing that made you great is not the thing that you begin to outsource. So for instance, in our firm, yes, we have a sourcer, we have the designer to the project, we have procurement, we have all of these different functions. But at the end of the day, that final stamp of approval before a design plan goes out comes to me. I still am responsible for the final deliverable because they came to me because of what I created and built the company on. I want to be really clear. That's a good thing. The difference is if they're coming to you, your team, about every decision, and if a client thinks that they can text your cell phone at 9:00 at night, Houston, we have a problem. That is not sustainable. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to them, because if they ever work with another designer again who has the proper boundaries and runs their firm as a firm, that isn't going to happen, and then they're going to be frustrated. So I want to be really clear about this. When it comes to the business being built around you, don't sacrifice your brand. Don't sacrifice what you created. Don't stop being involved but do it strategically. Be there for the parts of the business that are the client-facing important components. You don't need to be involved in every decision, whether that be for design, whether that be for client communication, whether that be for every subcontractor, vendor, manufacturer. No, you need people for that. And realize people are going to make mistakes. But I tell you what, when you have the right people in the right seats on the bus and they make a mistake, you can recover from it. And not only that, you can usually correct it before it ever reaches the client. And in the process of that, realize how many decisions you didn't have to make that would have resulted in an infinite amount of decision fatigue. That can be priceless. I want to be really clear here. You don't scale demand, you scale decision making. I want to say that again. You're not going to scale your demand, you're going to scale your decision making. What decisions are you going to choose, in the words of poker, to hold, and which ones are you going to fold? You've got to be strategic about it. You have to know which ones are make and break and which ones can be easily rectified. As someone once said, I know I'm going to drop balls. I just want to make sure I'm dropping the ones that bounce. That is how you should look at your business. Balls will be dropped. Things will happen. That isn't the sign of a bad business necessarily, but you want to make sure that if you have the right people in the bus, the right balls are dropping that can bounce. Because if you're holding all the balls and you're trying to juggle all of this, there's going to be balls that drop and they're not going to be the ones that bounce. Okay, let's talk about how capacity may have never been designed in your firm and it just kind of happened. I can't tell you how many businesses I talk to where whether it's setting up their culture, creating capacity, it's just a byproduct of functioning. There's no intentionality behind it. That's scary. So what does that look like practically? Maybe you're hiring reactively. Maybe you're pricing reactively. Maybe you're taking on projects based on availability, not on whether it's a good alignment with you, your brand, your firm, your timeline. That can be really, really hard. Whenever we're in a position where we're reacting as business owners, that should be a huge red flag to you as you reach this level in your business. What's going on here? Do we not have a process for this? Do we not have a system for this? Do we not have documentation for this, like a welcome packet that manages expectations for clients and is very clear about how you work and don't work? That should be cause for pause for you to look under the hood of your business and say, what's going on here and what do we need to change? Because scaling requires intentional capacity planning. Now, I'm not going to lie. The first year that we grew 15x, let me tell you, we did not have intentional capacity planning, but we hung on for the ride and we got real good, real fast at intentional capacity planning because we had no other option. Everything had to come off the whiteboards. It had to go into project management software. We had to get systems, processes, templates, people, and do it well. That level of intentionality is a lot like a finely tuned machine. It has to be dialed and styled. And this is so important if you're going to scale. You have to be able to ask the really hard questions, like what can your current team handle? Or what does one project actually consume, like we've talked about on this podcast, whether it's your emotional space, whether it's physical time, because there's only 24 hours in a day, folks. We can't make more of it, although that utterly kills me. It is what it is. Was it an immense amount of additional resources you weren't planning on that this project ate up? These are the questions you want to ask. And most importantly, as a CEO, where does your leadership time go? That is perhaps not just your time, which is valuable, but some of your most valuable time. How are you leading this company? How are you planning to put what needs to be in place there so that you can scale? It's not just something that happens because you have an immense amount of demand, which is great, but it doesn't mean you're ready to scale necessarily, right? I want you to think about it this way. If you don't design for capacity, demand will always outrun you. You've got to get ahead of it and get busy designing with the expectation of success. So when it shows up, which it will, despite what you're hearing in the marketplace, the demand of it is not going to outrun you. All right. I want you to think about why you might not be ready to scale if you're thinking that revenue is the same as scalability. And this is key. I can't tell you how many designers think that because they have revenue, they're ready to scale. So your revenue may have gone up. Your stress probably went with it. Your margins stayed tight. And you as the founder have an ever increasing and utterly exhausting workload. That's hard. Now, this is what scalability really means. It's none of what I just described. Scalability is about revenue that is growing without equal growth in founder labor. And you're probably scratching your head on that one. Yeah, the revenue should be growing without equal growth in founder labor. As the revenue goes up, your workload should decrease if you're scaling correctly. The margin should hold. And I know this can be really scary for a lot of you type A firstborns, of which I am one, but the decisions have to be decentralized. Now, I put an asterisk after that. It can't be the decisions that built your firm. And you go, but that's every single decision. Okay, stop, time out. You got to look under the hood again and say, is that necessarily true? But we have to think about what decisions can you outsource? What are those balls that when you drop, bounce if something goes sideways? Let's be very clear here. Revenue alone is not proof of scalability. It doesn't mean you're ready to grow because your numbers are there. Instead, ease and margin are letting you know you're ready to grow. In fact, in our firm, I will tell you personally, we just went through and I redesigned all the templates that we use for our projects. And why? Because we were hitting a wall and we needed to get things into a tighter automation that only I as a CEO could go through and do. Now, don't get me wrong. I could go through and assign people to these tasks every single day with a due date that I felt was manageable based on X, Y, and Z. That's not scaling. I had to build in ease and margin for myself as the rainmaker of the business to be able to go out and procure more business. And only I had the holistic view to be able to build these templates. Now that they're in place, we have the right people on our team. By the way, they're fabulous, who are able to implement them through the automations. We brought ease and margin back in because now the little things that were not in the prior templates are in these templates, and they have an automated workflow. They know that if they miss a deadline, it affects the next person in line. They've also been given a fair amount of time to work on it. They know it's coming because, as I always say, surprises are never fun after your 12th birthday. We're building in ease and margin so we can increase to an even greater capacity. That is how you get ready to scale. So let's talk about the underlying pattern here. Most firms out there were built to land projects, deliver beautiful work, and sustain a killer reputation. And don't mishear me. Those are all great things. But the reality of it is they're very surface level and they feel really good on paper. And there's tons of shows and podcasts and books you can read about that. But these same firms were not built to operate at higher volume. They weren't built to function without constant founder oversight. And more importantly, they weren't built to absorb complexity, which is where your business is at right now. It's not at that basic level. I want to be really clear that scaling is not about adding more. Sometimes we can think as CEOs and business owners, great, I'm growing. I can add more. I keep adding more. I keep adding more. This is great. My business is growing. Is it though? Is it healthy growth? Because we can add more eating junk to our bodies, right? Or do we add more by going to the gym, eating enough protein and fiber, Are we doing it the right way so that it's sustainable? Because one way isn't and the other is. And this is really about redesigning your operating model to get you through the glass ceiling you keep banging up against when you thought, great, I have a pipeline, so why isn't this working beautifully? Yeah, because scaling is about more than having clients lined up outside your door. I want you to have an identity shift through this show today. I want you to say, this is the moment where I'm going to stop asking, how do I take on more? Yeah, this is about you asking, what would have to change for my business to handle more without me carrying it? That right there, that's the difference between being a business owner and shifting into CEO mode. If you're in that place where demand isn't the issue, but sustainability is, that's exactly the kind of structural work that I do with designers behind the scenes, one-on-one in their business every single day. Because remember, your business should be working for you, not you working for it. Until next time, take care of yourself and thank you for your time. We'll see you back here soon.